Air used to be free. Not metaphorically free, literally free. You pulled into a gas station, popped the valve, and filled your tires without thinking about it. Now the same action looks like a transaction terminal, a blinking screen, a coin slot, a countdown timer. You're paying for compressed atmosphere. In some places, it's $1.50. In others, $2, sometimes more. And the strangest part is that in certain states, charging for air is illegal if you've bought gas. The law exists. The signs do not. Most people never ask. Gas stations explain it as maintenance costs, which is interesting, considering the old pumps worked for decades without charging anyone. The result is predictable. People now buy personal air compressors and keep them in their trunk. At that point, you're not paying for air anymore, you're paying to avoid being charged for air. Once something that basic can be monetized, everything else becomes negotiable, like bread. For decades, sitting down at a restaurant meant one thing was guaranteed. Before menus, before drinks, a basket of warm bread. It wasn't luxury. It was reassurance. Steam rising. Butter melting on contact. Now the basket is gone. In its place is artisanal bread service. The bread arrives like it always did. Then the bill appears. Bread service, charged. Some places don't bring it unless you ask. Hospitality has a price tag. There was a time when buying a game meant buying the entire game. If something was locked, you unlocked it by playing. You earned it. You stayed up late. You failed. You learned patterns. You tried again. Now games arrive incomplete by design. The base game is the entry fee. Everything else is modular. Extra characters, extra maps, extra outfits. Sometimes you can even buy time savers. You pay money so you don't have to play the game you already paid for. Loot boxes turn progression into probability. A virtual slot machine disguised as a reward system. The industry calls it optional. But the design tells a different story. Games from the 1,990 seconds were complete, because they had to be. Now monetization continues long after release. And the same logic has reached something even older than games. Human attention. Finding out whether someone liked you used to be simple. Dating apps replaced that with ambiguity. Someone likes you, but you can't see who it is. To reveal it, you subscribe. Monthly, recurring. The apps frame it as access, efficiency, control. What they're selling is curiosity, relief. You're paying to remove uncertainty. Sometimes it wasn't worth resolving. Rejection used to be free. Now clarity has a subscription fee. Physical institutions charge for necessity. Visiting a hospital now costs money. Meters near emergency entrances. Staff pay too. Other countries chose differently. People already have enough to deal with. If people have no alternative, they will pay. Information used to be open. Early news websites worked like digital newspapers. Banner ads paid the bills. Readers moved freely. No gates. No timers. No friction. That model collapsed quietly. Reading news now feels like a maze. First, a pop-up asks for email. Then cookies. Then autoplay video. You scroll. You read. Then the wall drops. Article visible but blurred. Subscriptions replaced ads. Prices crept up. People stop reading. They skim. Access didn't disappear. It fragmented. The same logic governs air travel. Flying used to include luggage. One airline charged for bags. Competitors mocked it, then copied it. Fees worked. Bags still failed. Now passengers pay extra for the privilege of trusting their belongings to a system that routinely fails. Some airlines went further. Carry-on bags became optional. Overhead bin space became purchasable. You're not paying to travel. You're paying to bring your things. One airline still resists the trend. It hasn't changed. That feels unusual. Monetization doesn't stop when you land. Even accessing your own money is conditional. ATMs were introduced as convenience. Then they added fees. Fees add up over time. Banks call it infrastructure cost. Real cost is tiny. The rest is margin. You're paying a toll to open your own wallet. The system works because cash emergencies don't feel optional. Urgency eliminates negotiation. The same principle applies to entertainment. Ticket price looks reasonable. Then, checkout begins. Fees stack up. None of this involves real labor. Fees remain anyway. Even buying in person costs extra. The building charges a fee for existing. The price you saw was never the price. One last example. Something small. Solitaire wasn't a product. It was instruction. A tutorial disguised as a game. It worked offline. It was free. It asked nothing. Now, the same game runs ads every few minutes. Subscriptions remove interruptions. A monthly fee to play alone. Some versions require internet. Others limit play. Even calculators charge subscriptions. Tools became services. Services became platforms. Platforms became toll booths. The pattern is consistent. Habitual things get monetized. Not because they changed, but because they didn't. The shift happened quietly. Fees introduced during crises. Others framed as convenience. Each felt tolerable alone. Together, they formed a pattern. Anything habitual stops being questioned. Anything unquestioned becomes billable. Air was free because no one imagined charging for it. Bread was free because hospitality demanded it. Games were complete because they had to be. Information was open because access was costly. Technology removed friction. Prices stayed. Instead of upfront, you pay repeatedly. Instead of buying once, you subscribe. Instead of owning, you rent access. Ownership is inefficient. Access is recurring. Economy monetizes existing behavior. People will always need information. They will always travel and carry things. They will seek connection and clarity. Safest revenue isn't novelty. It's dependency. Dependency doesn't need force. It only needs normalization. When fees feel standard, they stop feeling optional. When subscriptions are default, cancel feels like loss. Gradual friction makes people adapt. The most effective charges are the smallest ones. Annoying, not outrageous, just enough to avoid attention. Individually insignificant, collectively permanent. Inconvenience becomes a product. Access becomes conditional. Once it exists, it expands. This isn't about greed alone. Systems reward extraction. A toll between you and habits. You forget it was ever free. New users assume it's normal. They don't ask what changed. The transaction is complete. Not because it's fair, but because it's invisible. Monetization feels inevitable. More things will follow. Not from new ideas. From monetizing habits, the question isn't what's next. It's what's still free. And how long that lasts?